Today is May 31st, 2020, and I had a plan for my YouTube channel where I had an intro. I wanted weekly videos. I had recorded some of them and I was going to edit and start posting those soon, but things have progressed. Things are going on in our country right now, and it's actually the weekend of my 30th birthday, and I went out, and all of that feels really trivial right now compared to what's going on. I don't think that I'm going to be very eloquent right now. This whole thing has been eating away at me, but I need to say something, and if it helps one person to see a little bit more, it helps. If it helps one person feel more supported, then that's all I'm trying to do, because I can't sit here with this privilege and not do something, because at this point I've already waited too long. There's been so many incidents in this country over and over again in my lifetime, in the time when I was a full adult capable of recognizing what Black people and people of color have been dealing with in this country. And it's a subject that I kind of avoided a couple times because it's uncomfortable, because I know that there are several people that I care about who don't feel the same way, who don't recognize what's going on, and that by speaking up, I'm inviting these uncomfortable conversations. But my discomfort is overshadowed by Black people's lives getting taken from them. I think as a white person, I do have privilege. People are more likely to listen to me, and that's really frustrating. I saw friends of mine who got maced, and they weren't doing anything wrong. That's what we're living in right now, because instead of admitting that you might be part of the problem, people are fighting back. And I think it's important to recognize that you can have a second chance, because we've all, most of us have done something, said something, thought something racist. It's built into our system. We have internalized prejudices that you may not even consciously be aware of, but this is the time to take a look and recognize where those biases are from. Try and recognize when those are kicking in. Why are you so willing to take the side of the white person or the police officer? It's scary to think that the people who are in charge of enforcing laws are the ones who are defying them in the worst possible way. People who are supposed to protect us are abusing their power. That's terrifying. No one wants to believe that. But we've seen over and over again in videos and pictures and firsthand accounts all these people who have witnessed this violence. And it's exhausting. For me, I haven't had to deal with this on a personal level. I know people who have. No one likes getting pulled over by the police. Honestly, yeah, of course I get a little nervous every time. It's not fun, but for me it's an inconvenience. And for someone else it might be life or death. I have a friend, a Black man, who was in a group of cars that were all speeding, and he got pulled over. Now, it shouldn't matter that this is one of the calmest, kindest men I've ever met, who is consistently being told over and over again how well he handled difficult situations and difficult people. But I have to vouch for just how little of a threat he posed. And yet, for a routine traffic stop for speeding, he was a black man in a new car and a gun got pulled on him. And he's alive, thank God. But the fact that everyone around him was speeding and he's the one who got pulled over, and that violence was threatened when he absolutely could never be seen as a threat, that tells you that internalized prejudice, conscious and unconscious, is incredibly dangerous, especially in the hands of people with power, in the hands of people with weapons, in the hands of people who have the authority to take away your life, whether that's killing someone or getting them in jail for the rest of their life. I have heard people use violent racist comments as a way to get their way. They thought that if I say something like this, I can get away with it. They thought that that was okay, and they thought that someone would agree with them. I'm not really sure. I'm having a hard time being eloquent right now because it's really frustrating, and these last few days I've broken down several times because I feel powerless. I wish I could do more. I wasn't able to make it to the protest because of things I had already planned. And again, all of the things that I was doing just felt not enough. I never feel like I can do enough because people are still getting hurt. People are still dying over something that we should all be aware of at this point. Because we haven't listened. I haven't listened. I heard it and I saw it and I was afraid to say something because what if someone questioned me? What if someone asked a question? Am I able to answer that? Am I able to do that? And the reality is it doesn't matter what I think. I have to say something because people are going through too much. The burden should not be on people of color to continually explain to white people or people who don't understand what they're going through, because over and over again they've been telling us. We've seen videos of this over and over again. We've watched so many people get murdered. Like, I don't understand how you're not upset about this already. And you think riots are the problem? Like, they wouldn't be rioting if this hadn't happened. It's not they're rioting for no reason. And look at all the riots that white people have started that didn't bring the military down on them. Okay, people didn't come out in tanks with bullets and gas masks when people destroyed cities after a sports game. That's not how it works, because those people were not primarily people of color. And that's the problem here. Because you can continually say, oh, they shouldn't be rioting. That's not the way to protest. But our country was founded on the Boston Tea Party. You okay with that? You guys seem to think that Martin Luther King Jr. is a black person worth listening to, and don't pretend that you don't filter out black voices, because there are plenty of them out there and you've chosen not to listen. But there is one, because history has decided that Martin Luther King Jr. is someone worth listening to. Hopefully you'll listen to his words. Riots are the language of the unheard. Okay? People tried over and over again. There are unarmed black men and women getting murdered over and over again. Where was the threat there? Where was the violence there? It wasn't on their part. It was the police officers who came for them. No one wants to believe they live in a country that is built on racism, but don't turn a blind eye. Black lives matter, and we need to uplift them. We need to listen to them. I'm tired, guys, and it's time for change to happen. You need proof that there's a difference in this country between how we treat white people and black people. Look at the protesters for the people who didn't want to wear masks, the people who didn't want to sit in quarantine, showing up to state buildings with guns. And what was the response? There were no police coming out in full force, but yet we have protesters fighting because someone died, fighting to actually protect someone, and the police are all over it. You see how this is a problem? And you can see that there are police, there have been police officers and sheriffs in towns throughout the U.S. who've stepped up. I'm glad to see that they took part in the protest, because that's what we need right now. If you're a police officer and you're one of the good guys, then that's what you need to be doing. You shouldn't be mad that people are upset, that people are abusing positions of power. Police officers murdering black people, those are the bad guys, not the protesters. So police officers, if you're the good guys, you should be supporting these protests. You should be even more outraged, because they're making you look bad. And if you don't step up, they're right. You are bad. You're part of the problem if you're not against this. Police brutality is a problem just as much for police officers, because yeah, if this continues to happen, this has already continued to happen, we starting to think maybe we don't need police officers, because right now they are the issue. We need to step up. We need to do something. This is the time for change. So as you can see, I'm wearing a different outfit because it's a different day. It's now June 1st. And I've been incredibly triggered for several days, and I've never had to deal with the fear of police in the same way that people of color had. If I'm triggered right now, I can only imagine how people of color are feeling, because it's not right. It's not okay that they have to deal with this threat, and that we have a racist president calling them thugs and employing tear gas and rubber bullets on people for a fucking photo op. It's bullshit. It's not fair that the commander-in-chief thinks that peace and law and order is what's important right now, because he's wrong. I'm just tired right now. I'm tired of all of this, and I would love to just turn off social media and look away, but I've already failed too many times because I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to talk about it because I knew that I would have questions from the people that I loved. Well, why do they have to be violent? Why do they have to burn things? Well, guess what? Being peaceful clearly didn't work. Being peaceful didn't protect them either. Being peaceful didn't keep George Floyd from getting murdered. Okay? So yeah, there may be some violence. It's not fun. No one likes that. But that wasn't their first choice either. I've been uncomfortable talking about it because it's not fun. And because people don't get it. And people will use just about any excuse to justify that attitude that the protests are wrong, rather than admit that it's because it's Black people doing it. And that's the problem. Just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it's not real. This is your time to show up. This is your time to do something. So yeah, I'm upset right now, and I've had a really hard time concentrating and sleeping. And I'm gonna sit in it, and I'm gonna deal with that, because my discomfort is not as important as Black lives, and neither is yours. Get out of your comfort zone and stand up for what's right.